We're all good. Hi guys.
Sounds?
We're gonna be going. So
Good. Friends, comrades, bummer citizens of all varieties, thank you for being here. My name is James Ikeda of the Bummer City Historical Society, and I'm very happy to be here with an incredibly talented. Holy shit! Fuck yeah! Hey! Thank you, everybody. Very excited to be here with some unbelievably talented people, and I just want to kick the thing off by saying that there's nothing more powerful in the world than the power of being really stoked about something your friends are doing. And one of the things which you have the power to do, if you have even the slightest bit of organizational prowess or time or energy or willingness, is you can lend some of your own energy and excitement and other resources to your buds so they can do dope things. And that's, in essence, what's led to this. A lot of people putting in a lot of time to make a dope thing happen. And it's just extremely exciting. And I want to say, this has never been shown before to anyone, so you're witnessing, dear friends, the world premiere of Live CRABZ! Give it up for Live CRABZ! Take it away, everybody.
It's just theories. We can't, test any of this. It's not like you can cross these dimensions yourself and come back just to see what's different. It doesn't work like that.
So, there's no way to know if they're right or even relevant. It's just things to say.
It's more than that, I think. We've all got to make something up in our heads to keep the fear away. We can't just hold on to this big dark nothingness all the time.
What if I think it's dark to be wondering what happens when you die all the time? Isn't it lighter to just live and keep living, not wonder what will happen to your mind if you die? It's enough mental gymnastics to try and deny materialism with the whole, well, you can't prove it's one way or the other, so we'll just go on asking questions all day, every day, about what happens.
So, you're happy to just say that when we die, it's nothing?
I don't think I even have to say it. I just think it's better to concentrate on what life is like, what possibilities are here while we're alive. We spend all our time worrying about what happens when we die. We don't end up living.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about wouldn't even include death. Not for the individual mind. It would be like we never miss a beat. So you've got this window, and the window has all these drops of water on it from the rain. You can see where one drop continues down in this streak.
Yi spreads her hands across empty space in front of her, framing an imaginary window. She draws a finger down the center where the streak of rain would be. She stares at Laren with wide eyes to make sure he's paying attention. He's lost, blinking slowly through a mist of vaporized dope. He can see the window she's drawn so clearly, brighter and more crisp under his eyelids half closed. He keeps his eyes half closed so he can imagine the other half of what he sees. He gets bored of patchwork metal walls, blinking lights, tubes everywhere. He gets bored of what's outside, too. It's easier to be content and stoned most of the time. He can spend it all imagining something different, something better than what's here. Possibilities. His view nods back with his head, following a pipe on the wall, up and into the rest of the ship. He imagines it winding through the hull.
What does that one carry? Coolant? Water? Is water coolant? Seems like a waste of water.
The room shakes as a massive mechanical leg crashes through trees and thuds on the ground. The good crab Orwell is moving uphill, through toxic growth towards pockets of clean air. A leg touches ground every few minutes.
If I could get some old computers, the ones that don't need all those expensive superconductors, we don't need quantized connectors, we could go totally digital, good old electronics.
You're not even paying attention. Whatever. I'm not talking about quantum computing. I'm talking about quantum immortality.
Sorry, I'm just stoned.
I'm saying, though, if there are all these different realities, different dimensions, right? We might be connected to our other selves in other dimensions. And our minds are these drops of water, so it falls down in the window and it drips down and ends up following the same path as the other drops.
So, are we the drops? Or...
Yeah, I think so. Or, no, the drops are just a visualization thing. So, our consciousness is flowing down whatever path allows it forward. If we die, maybe due to materialism, our consciousness can't, move down that path anymore. So it slides down whatever path it can. So we might die in this dimension as far as other people in that dimension can tell, but our minds just continue in whatever dimension we're still alive in.
Wait, what does that mean for the other dimensions, though? Do we have multiple consciousnesses? Or is it one consciousness? If we're perceiving everything in this dimension, what happens to the other dimension once we jump into its living stream or whatever you're talking about?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying it was just an idea. You know, there's no way to really test any of these things. We can't travel to other dimensions.
I mean, why not? We could. Maybe we do. Maybe we can. If everything's just possibilities.
You really are stoned. Everything's just possibilities, man.
Give me a break. You're the one talking about quantum immortality.
It'd be nice, though, to have some rain.
Herb wanders into the conversation from across the room. They look out of an imaginary window in the side of the wall.
I used to love watching it when I was a kid.
You're still a kid.
Herb closes their eyes and leans against the wall. With their eyes closed, they can imagine something more beautiful to look at. An outside where they don't have to wear filters or goggles, where there's clean air and low radiation all day, where they can do cartwheels on the roof and lay in the moss.
It'll be there in the future.
Yi stares at a red light above the room's entrance hatch. When it turns green, they'll all be able to go out on the roof and look around. The children will be happy to help her plant up there. Everyone will be smiling and working together. When the light turns green, they'll be able to see far into the purple and green sunset. Maybe in another reality, she's already there. The timer buzzes and Laren sits upright. He slaps his face and tries to shake away some of the dope clouding his eyes.
Guess that's me. You want to watch screens?
Maybe in a bit. I'm pretty tired of screens.
Laren rubs his eyes and places a hand on a touchpad next to the hatch. It hisses and swings open. He smiles at its functionality. He runs his hands against the wall as he slumps his way towards the communications room. He imagines all the parts he'll need to hook up a new sound system. He can cool each room's system with all this flowing water, or coolant, whatever it was. Just a few more parts and he'd be able to blast all those songs Yi found through the whole ship. It's been good these last few months. Everyone on the ship's got this hopeful feel. The balloons are working. The crab is walking twice as fast and using half the energy. Joyanne said there's juniper around here. Next time the lights go green, maybe the kids can go out and pick more.
Maybe then it'll smell better in here.
The ore well is made up of scraps and found treasures, jigsawed together and balanced like a kinetic sculpture. A Rube Goldberg machine of Leviathan proportions. Air intake from balloons run through natural filters to the main body where it's recycled. Condensation is trapped and cleaned into water edibles and natural filters for the air. Solar panels float above the deep haze, powering their sensors and lifting the ore well's gargantuan legs. They stay on the move to avoid using up everything around them. Wouldn't want to become what they hate, trapped in one of those fishbowl dome cities, cleaned with skin-safe bleach, forced to count arbitrary metrics as a hobby while the world is automated around you.
I heard the DAU puts SSRIs.
You gotta pay for everything. You don't need it. There's even insurance for your sleep schedule.
Everyone's just working in a grocery store to service like 5.
I heard they all work tech.
You know they're using homeless people for food, right?
Life outside the domes is rough and difficult. Between repairs, shifts in the communications pod, and constant scrapping, Laren barely has time to rest. Sometimes his adrenaline sits up behind his eyeballs and all he can do is sedate himself. The garbage monster needs a steady supply of spare parts and effort to keep the legs moving. The Orwell shakes with another step. Forward and up. Laren uses a handrail to steady himself. The clanging of kids' footsteps and muffled laughter echoes through the hall. The laughter becomes yelping as a herd of children crash into each other at a bend.
I'm not going to tell you to slow down. If you fall, it's your fault.
The tallest kid dashes forward again, dragging the front of their shoe along the metal grating floor. They trip and tumble, knees and elbows first, skinned by the grating. They wail loudly as Mother Ann rushes to help.
Okay, that's not good.
She pulls out a gauze pad out of her pouch on her waist and dabs away blood.
So, sorry, what's your name?
Sooty, the kid whines, snorting through tears.
Well, Sooty, first off, we don't fight each other, do we? Second, I don't want to have to chase you all around to make sure you don't kill yourself, so be safe. I'm not going to be here to pick you up every time. We pick up ourselves, right?
Mother Ann helps Sooty up.
Doesn't mean I'm gonna leave you here on the floor, though. Come on.
Laren passes the kids at the bend. He imagines teaching them how to build a computer, how to wire a light.
We're building something here. All of us.
The environment didn't collapse in an event. Most people wouldn't admit that anything happened at all. There are just some places you don't go when the air is toxic. When the crops started dying, they just moved them indoors, out of the ground until they could be planted again in the domes. They called it consolidation, resource management, housing progress. First, they offered subsidies for people willing to move to the new dome cities. Eventually, they started turning people away at the walls because it got too crowded. Population was the problem. All we need is innovation.
I don't think it'd be that bad, to be honest.
Easy Jim reclines, his feet dangling in front of radar screens and grainy images of the outside.
We already live on recycled oxygen down here, right? It's not like it'd be that much different.
Come on, man. You hate it.
Joyanne blinks slowly as she stares at the monitor, scanning their path for dangers and opportunities.
At least on Earth, we've got the choice. We could not live in a dome. On the moon, you're trapped in tunnels all day, every day. You're lucky to even see the Earth, and that's if you're fucking rich. We'd be stuck mining or pushing some buttons, for the rest of our lives.
EJ puts his hand out, motioning to the pod they're in.
So what, like this?
Fucking whatever. You can be sarcastic all you want.
What do you mean? I'm not being sarcastic. We are stuck here. Well, you're stuck here. I go out.
He squints at the screen expectantly.
And I'm grateful for that. You don't need to remind me.
Nah, don't worry about it. I'm not trying to make y'all do the heavy lifting. You're right anyways. Wouldn't like it up there. Heard you can't even run. It's all just a bunch of hopping. You think you go?
Maybe. I don't know, man. It just feels like giving up. There's still a lot we could do down here.
Right, like pick up garbage and feed ourselves.
Then why are you here?
Because I'm a fucking criminal, Joanne.
He snorts loudly and takes his feet off the desk. Reaching down into a basket on the floor, he pulls out a handful of juniper sprigs and starts tying them together.
You know what they told me? That I should be grateful. Fucking joke.
EJ wraps brown twine around a bunch in his hand. He ties a tight knot and reaches into his waist pouch for an eternal match. He flicks it with his thumb and holds the flame to the newly wound bundle. The pine smoke curls upwards as he blows the embers a few times.
Fuck 'em.
The hatch behind them squeals as it's twisted open from the hall. Laren pokes his shaved head in and takes a deep breath.
Smells good. Is that it?
Is that what?
Juniper.
Yeah, that's it.
Laren leans down between the two and squints at the monitor. He points at a small gray spot peeking above the trees.
Building. There.
Just like that, huh?
I don't know what you think we're doing out here, but we need to make stops. I've got things to build.
Chill out, Bill. We don't even know what we're looking at yet.
Another thud shakes the Orwell as its legs carry it forward. The small gray corner stretches across the screen. The grainy image of a crumbling concrete warehouse comes into view. Metal gates line cargo entrances along the wall.
All right.
Oh, man, you got lucky. You're not getting credit for this one. I've been watching for the last 5 hours.
I don't need credit, Jay. I need electronics.
Laren clicks on the speaker to the engine room.
Cut it. Found something. Time for a field trip. So, I can see it working. I don't even need to close my eyes. I can see how much wire I'd need, could even tell you the colors of the connectors would have.
Laren pulls a black turtleneck over his head in the changing room.
Now that we've got all this power, I mean, seriously, this is big. We're not going to be hiding in a mech hall looking at pipes all day.
Sounds like more screens to stare at.
Mother Ann packs and repacks her waist pouch, minimizing all empty space.
I don't know if you remember what the rest of this country is like now. It's not like we can go on hikes or pop out to the garden to water plants. You want clean air, you can go be a domer.
Laren zips up his vest and starts to fill each pocket with salvaging tools.
I'm just saying, we've got a chance to build something new here. This ship, this place, can be whatever we want it to be. You're imagining luxuries and how to relax, and we're supposed to be creating a tool for change.
A tool for change. Sounds like some nerd shit.
Easy Jim leans against the wall with his arms crossed, already dressed.
So Elle, dreaming about circuit boards and high-fidelity inter-ship communication network infrastructure isn't nerd shit?
Oh, I definitely wasn't listening. That's also some nerd shit.
Yeah, but we'll be able to listen to music.
I never said nerd shit was bad.
I mean, Anne, we can't limit ourselves. That's one of the reasons we're out here, right?
The changing room is lined with lockers of tactical equipment and hazard gear. A table on the other side of the room is piled with gadgets and loose batteries. In the center of the room, a circular pad is cut out of the floor, large enough that 10 people could stand on it at once. Functionally, this elevator is the most important entrance and exit for the Orwell. Lowering out of the bottom of the hull, the ship provides cover for dust storms or acid rain. Aesthetically, the exit elevator is the anus of the Orwell. The away team readies themselves for evacuation. Laren stuffs as many pliers and screwdrivers as he can fit in his vest. He over-prepares in excitement. Easy Jim is always the first to be ready. He sleeps in his boots. Says it's because he's always ready for violence. Really, he just likes being on steady ground. Being in the ship too long, he gets seasick from the movement. It's why he's always leaning back like it's easy. Mother Ann makes sure everyone's got what they need. Water tanks are filled, Mask filters are clean. No one's got exposed skin or a crack in their goggles. She wishes everyone would be more self-sufficient, so she wouldn't have to go out every time. No one else on the Orwell can stop the bleeding as fast as she can. Always the first to pick someone up from skinning their knee. She's tying Yee's hair in a bright galaxy-colored braid, tight against her head.
You're quiet, Yee. You alright?
Yee has her eyes closed, wincing as her head gets pulled back.
Yeah, just thinking. I wish I thought like you did, Al. My ideas don't come in that clear. Like, sometimes when I'm coming up with an idea in my head, it's just a shape or a movement. I can see its edges or where it's going, how fast it is. Sometimes I can even smell it, but it's always just the outlines. You know what I mean? Like, I can see the silhouette of what I want to make, but I can't see what it really looks like. Just outlines and directions. If I can concentrate, I just experience this calming geometry in my mind, but it never goes anywhere. It's just a vibe, like a feeling. And I want to make that feeling real, into something, but I don't know how. I can't draw it, I don't know what's inside the outline, how much does it weigh, what's it feel like to touch it, what'll it do to other people? I think Laren's right, Anne. We can't limit ourselves. I need help filling out these shapes in my mind. I know you're all here with me to help, it just makes me happy, you know? It might be hard, but no one's telling us what we can and can't do out here. You know the women's underground movement?
Yeah, worm? Always thought it was a bit on the nose. Isn't their ship, like, a worm?
Yeah, it rules. I heard they've got more tech on that thing than in one of the domes. Like, way advanced. And I know I'm just imagining this in my head, but we've got this thing, this shape, this opportunity.
See, this is why I love you.
Calm down. We all love you.
Easy Jim pushes himself off the wall and crosses over to the exit pad on the gear table.
Yeah, back off, pig.
Mother Ann teases as she finishes Yee's hair. Laren joins EJ at the gear table and picks up 4 headsets to pass around. EJ handles a new magnetic bolt gun, a mix between a taser and a nail gun. It can pierce through armor and even disable government machines. He clips the charging holster to his belt and clicks the weapon into place. A green light flashes on the end, then turns to yellow.
What are you bringing those for?
I don't know. Mutants? Who the fuck knows what's out there?
Easy Jim pulls his hood over his head and snaps his goggles into place, taking a headset from Laren.
Eej is right. We don't know what's out there. We've got to be prepared.
Mother Ann clips on her charger and clicks in her bolt.
But it's fucked up to call them mutants. And we're not going to shoot at any people with these. These are for pigs only.
Yee takes a mag bolt from EJ and clips in the charger to her belt. Before clicking the weapon, she aims it at Laren. She looks him straight in the eye and winks.
How?
She mimics. Laren smiles and hands her a headset.
Skin check.
The group checks all their joints and exposures.
Mic check.
Laren clicks on his local communications.
Check.
Check.
The team steps onto the raised circle and Laren slaps the exit button. The floor hisses and lowers. Easy Jim shifts on his feet nervously. The others squat and kneel, bracing themselves on the platform. For several moments they descend through the hall. The sound of an idle mech hums and hisses around them. Hydraulics relay them down, clunking as the weight is passed to the next level. The elevator breaks through the bottom of the hall and into open air. A cold gust of wind briefly unsettles EJ, so he takes a wider stance. Bare, sick trees provide little cover for the wind, especially up as high as the Orwell's legs rest.
We kind of need a railing or something, right?
Well, you should have said something when we were looting the balloon factory.
It was a dirigible airship development plant. Dirigibles aren't balloons.
I mean, they kind of are. The big one we've got has a rigid body, but it's still pretty much a balloon.
He's oversimplifying it.
No, you are overcomplicating it and being a dick because EJ didn't use a big word.
Fucking anyway. We brought a laser cutter, right?
Yeah.
Laren pats his vest.
Don't know if it's enough to cut railing. These are pretty spent from the balloon factory.
Fuck off.
Both of you, chill. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you didn't like each other. Jesus, is this affinity?
No, Mother.
You don't want me to sigh directly into this mic.
Mother Ann rolls her eyes as the elevator reaches final depth just above the ground. The Orwell is anchored straddling a bend in paved road. Decades of freeze and thaw open deep scars in the pavement, peeled over and filled with technicolor lichen and fungal growth. The new ecosystem of the world takes on the colors of oil slick. Green shades replaced by yellow haze, like toxic pollen floating through the air. Most of what used to be the United States is desert. Here in the Northwest, a jungle of firs, birch, maple, and juniper survive, thinned out. Once the majority of the people were consolidated in dome cities, development projects were dropped and forgotten. If it weren't for the radioactive dirt and poisoned water cycle, these trees might have reclaimed what was once theirs. Instead, what grew back covers the landscape in contrasting purple and orange hues. Just like scar tissue, what's grown back is stronger than before, but gnarled and twisted by a toxic atmosphere. The away team steps off the elevator. The ground crunches under their boots as they plant new footprints on untouched desiccation. Easy Jim hops in place, stretching his arms wide and bending backwards. He stamps his feet on the ground and lets out a groan of relief. Laren's brain spins a bit in his skull, sending him off balance. The loose ends of his break-hour joint dangle loose at the edges of his eyes. He blinks away an empty spot in his mind and feels like falling. For less than a moment, then it's gone. He follows mental circuit boards and multicolored connections to a place of calm and starts moving forward. His thoughts no longer have words attached to them. The voice in his head is clouded by visions of speakers and microphones and the tubes that connect them. He's installing jacks and switches, plugging and unplugging within 4 meters of walking. He's installed an entire synth rack in the communications room. Now he's programming it. He can feel the wires in his fingers, smell the plastic, taste the metal. He hears voices but no words, only familiar sounds. His body executes an automated response, nodding with tilted eyelids.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Hey, you there, buddy?
Mother Ann waves a hand in front of Laren's face.
I think we lost you for a sec.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, just working on something. Sorry, I'm just concentrating.
The wires, circuits, switches, and jacks crunch in his mind. Losing their order and grace, his connection is broken. Laren scowls to himself and blinks again. For those moments, he couldn't see in front of him. He couldn't hear.
Sorry, still a little stoned.
So, what are we looking for?
Depends on what's in there. It's not like I have wall hacks.
I heard the worm actually has that now. Like, they developed this AR system, just uses regular display visor, so it's not like the visor lets them literally see through walls, but the sensor arrays they've got are small enough to carry around.
Where'd you hear that?
Comrade Astrid, the new one from NW04. She should come out. Seriously, smart kid. Anyway, she was telling me that they collect all this data from these multi-sensors, magnetic waves, electrical signals, echolocation, radar, radio waves. It all gets compiled and displayed in real time on their visual displays. So when they look at a wall, they can see right through. They use it to dig tunnels. They can even see if a building is about to collapse.
Great. They can see through walls, and I'm digging around old distro centers for MP3s of Plastic Love.
The fuck is an MP3?
It's a file format. I found a bunch of ancient hard drives at the last radio tower we looted.
Yes, which is why we need to get more equipment, so we can listen to all this cool old music.
So, Elle, you're an audiophile, right? We've got music. We've even got all those ancient plastic discs you made me carry.
They're called vinyls.
Right, yeah. We've even got analogs. So, why are we busting our asses to listen to outdated digital formats?
Because we don't throw stuff out. Nothing is trash.
Exactly. Plus, different formats always produce a different feeling. Every recording method is like this moment in time. Remember when I showed you what was on those vinyls? You could hear all this scratching and popping, these ticks. All these little bits are like texture, all these blemishes are like new colors. They represent a time and a place.
Alright, fair, but what if we don't find whatever you need to find in there?
There's always something useful. Just gotta look.
The shared crunching of boots on dried pavement stops. The away team stands with their back to the ore well, facing a row of loading docks on the long wall of an abandoned distribution warehouse. 100 years ago, this would have been the hub of activity. Flocks of delivery vans coming and going at all hours, the gates on each loading dock probably only closed when the managers boarded it up. Thousands of people probably worked here, being ground into pulp by conveyor belts and mandatory processing quotas. People on high-vis jackets would be pointing at things, driving pallets from one stack to the next. A mother of 4 would take her cigarette break and cough at her phone screen as she scrolled through videos of photogenic animal babies she'd never see. A kid on their second week of work would get yelled at by the shift manager for leaning against a rack after lifting a 50-pound box of box cutter refills. All the sounds would have melded into a machine-like hum. Now the warehouse throbs with an activity. A looming silence amplifies the ringing in Laren's ears. The sky darkens as a withered thunderclap mumbles news of oncoming rain.
What are the chances? Ask and ye shall receive.
I didn't ask for this. Irv did.
She looks at the sky, peeking above the roof of the warehouse. In the domes, you could look at the sky and see blue with white clouds. Enough days of that can make you forget you're looking at the roof. Out here, even if you can't see through kilometers of haze, even if you can't see down the road, you know it goes on and on.
Even after our sky ends, there's space, and more skies, and more space, and it's spinning, it's always spinning, and I get to be here and see it from this angle with these people. Maybe I did ask for the rain. I don't know.
Let's get inside. I don't want to find out what kind of rain they get up here.
The team begins to search for an easy entrance. It'd be better to find an open door than to have to spend a laser cartridge cutting through locks. The same lichen and fungus that fills the cracks of the road has climbed and rooted itself in cracked concrete. Easy Jim climbs a steel staircase to an orange rusted door half rotted out on the forest-facing side of the loading docks. The stairs whine and creak with each step.
It's a little sketchy, but...
EJ kicks at the door. It bounces back, swinging open with a loud creak. The staircase shakes.
Easy. Blessed. Entrance on the far side. Careful on the stairs.
EJ enters the warehouse, running his hands against the wall near the door, searching for a light switch. A storage facility this big wouldn't even have one. Cracks in the roof and loose loading bay gates provide the only light in the place. The acrid smell of burnt plastic and stagnant air greets the team as they enter. Laren clicks on his headlamp to survey their find. The interior is decimated. The charred remains of burnt surplus litter the floor and aisles. The walls are covered in dark ash. The away team begins taking shallow breaths as the breathable oxygen levels plummet. Anything that could have been used, donated, repurposed, recycled, was destroyed with fire. The last act of a narcissistic system refusing to pick up after itself. While the rest of the country moved into the domes, mega warehouses like this one just abandoned their products, sourcing new ones to be distributed at Potemkin storefronts, masquerading as local business. The company that ran this warehouse didn't hire professionals to destroy their surplus. They just doused it all in gasoline and let a match do the work. This practice was common enough that the crew has seen it before.
Yeah, this was definitely for shipping.
Do we need to go back up and get oxygen?
No, the filters are fine. It's not sealed in here.
Laren walks down the near wall towards the back corner offices.
Besides, this is perfect. I know exactly what we can get in here.
Burnt plastic?
A lung infection?
Laren finds an office door and twists at the handle hopefully. Finding it locked, he kicks, and still it doesn't move.
Since it's not product, these places always leave some things untouched. No one ever thinks to destroy things they don't think people can profit from.
Laren takes the laser cutter from the front of his vest. He twirls it in his hand with a flourish that no one sees.
Cutting.
Laren calls out, prompting his comrades to look away. He clicks his goggles welding filter on, eliminating most all light. The pen-sized laser lances the door handle, cutting the die-cast zinc lock. After 2 seconds of use, the laser sputters and dies.
Shit.
Laren shakes the laser and clicks its back a few times in a meaningless gesture. He kicks at the door again, blasting it open. The crash echoes through the quiet warehouse. The concrete walls shudder and whine. A herd of tapping gathers outside and on the floor. Easy Jim begins his search of the warehouse by walking aimlessly down rows of ruined shelving. He pulls a mag bolt out like a cowboy, pretending to shoot at rats that are long dead. Mother Ann and Yi follow Laren into the office. The flames didn't reach these back rooms, sealed away from the common shaft. Yi cranks her hand lantern 15 times and puts it in the center of the room to light up their search.
Yes, all right.
Laren yelps with excitement as the office's contents are revealed. Desks covered in radio equipment, speakers, hand mics, a relay board, computers.
They probably had thousands of transports running out of here. Every one of them calling back home.
Nice.
He paces through the office. Laren looks at the desks covered in equipment, and his mind dives forward into visualizations of wires and their proper connections. He peers at the back of the units, running his finger over multicolored braids. He follows their paths with eyelids half closed, imagining possibilities, problems, and their solutions.
This'll work. This'll definitely work.
Eej, we found some gear in here if you want to help. Looks heavy.
Mother Ann makes the call over local comms.
Just chill, okay? We can't just tear this stuff out of the wall. The wires and connectors are what I need, not just the boards and cases.
Laren continues to map his attack plan in his mind, running his fingers over every connector and wire he can reach. He pulls at the cases and desk to see if he can get a better angle on his entrance. The desk is part of the wall and doesn't move. Some of the cases and instruments on the desk are loose, some bolted. He pulls out his multi-screw and starts working excitedly. DJ hovers outside the door, looking in and waving for Mother Ann's attention. The herd of tapping is now a steady wave of rain. The walls of the warehouse groan.
Alright, I don't want to bum anyone out, but we probably gotta make it quick. This place is about to be as stable as wet cardboard.
You could tell him, but I don't think he's listening.
Mother Ann gestures to Laren, face first in a pile of screws and wires. With both hands active, Laren imagines the landscapes he'll create back on the Orwell. He'll have audio connections to every room and pod, maybe even some in the hallways. He'll be able to broadcast music, videos, and games to every screen and speaker. He deftly removes a distribution amplifier and its connecting wires from the mess, pairing it with a handset. He waves EJ in and hands it to him.
Here, you can start with this. We can just send it as I finish.
EJ unfolds a clear plastic contamination wrap from his vests and puts the electronics inside before he leaves.
Actually, everyone just get him out. They're coming quick.
Mother Ann and Yi pull wraps out of several vest pockets and stand in line, waiting for Laren to hand them precious salvage. Mother Ann wraps another amplifier carefully, motioning for Laren to give her more to load up. Laren starts humming the colors he sees in his mind. The wires and boards become vibrations and feelings. They're no longer in front of him. He's already installing them on the ship. He can see the future so clearly that he loses track of the present. He pulls a radio tuner away from the wall. It catches on a stray cord that hasn't detached.
Oh, sorry, 1 second.
Laren fumbles in his excitement. Yi waits patiently with her bag open. The waves of tapping rain shift into crinkling dust and clunking chunks of concrete. The hollow tear of a collapsing wall builds and breaks. Suddenly, overhead, a chunk of roof crashes downwards through the office. Yi can't move. She can't see or hear. Everything around her is without light, heat, vibration, or texture. Time stops. She is suspended in an ultra-cold region of space-time. The dimension in which she survives this accident does not support linear continuity.
Oh, fuck! Yee!
Laren scrambles towards the pile of rubble where Yi stood a split second ago. He can see her face, her mask and goggles cracked and exposed by a block of ceiling. Her eyes are open, her skull crushed, mixed red with the purple and pink of her tight braid, ripped apart by the collapse. Toxic rain pours through a hole in the ceiling. EJ and Mother Ann run towards the accident. Mother Ann stares at the scene for a moment before grabbing Laren by both arms and pulling him away from the pile.
Elle, we have to go.
She cries as he desperately pulls at immovable concrete.
We've got to go, please.
Laren can't look away. He can see her face so clearly, even when he closes his eyes. A blue ring exists in Yi's vision. It did not appear. She is overwhelmed with the feeling that it has always been there in front of her. She moves forward. As she does, light that was paused with the world around her is picked up by her eyes. She can see as she moves forward towards the ring. She can hear every moment of light passing through her. It warms and holds her like she's swimming in it. She pushes through, the world around her still paused by a quantum mistake. Behind her, in the vacuum left by her movement, a chaotic wound in reality. The blue ring is an eye. It's always been an eye, attached to an observer, watching her immortal dimension from the outside. She follows it forward, clear of the collapsing roof. Reality trembles with each footstep. A sound in her head forms. It's golden and warm. It is the rain crumbling concrete. Every synthetic drop and sonic squirm she's ever heard in her life. It shakes her mind, opening into pure understanding. It is a voice. Time is ending for all of us, but there is a way that we can be together. All right. That's it.